Today is our 7th session and we are going to talk about integration interface, workflows and method. All these three things are related to each other. So this is our agenda. So first we'll touch base on the integration interface, then workflow and then method. So method uses the workflow and the workflow can use the interface. So we have to start from the interface and then go to workflow and then go to methods. So let's talk about first integration interface. So what is meant by integration interface? So integration interface is used to import and export the data from the daemon. Okay, so the integration interface wizards, what it does, it imports the data from the staging table, for example price list, or it exports the Demantra forecast. Typically this integration interface are used to export the data, forecast data. Then load the data from the text file, export to data text file, do some automation about integration, then monitor the outcome. Yeah, we can monitor how the integration is doing by using the workflow. So these are the things that we can do. Let's see that directly in the integration interface screen. Okay, so this is our integration interface. Let's go to business modular. So as I mentioned, it is used to import the data. So it can be anything. So let's go to business modular. Navigation is tool, integration interface. So these are the interface which are available under the Demantra demand management. Let's take a seeded one. Let's talk about first export interface. So we usually export the forecast, right? So how that exporting happen? Now this export is happening within the Demantra. We are not talking about publishing the forecast from Demantra to BCP. So we are talking about moving the data, forecast data from the Demantra sales data table to user-friendly format. So it can be anything. It can be a table or Excel file. We'll see in detail. So now in this forecast there are the two profile. One is the data profile and the level profile. So if you want to export the data with respect to time, then it's a data profile. You can create a data profile. And if you want to export the only level data irrespective of time, so like I want to see the item data only, or I want to see all the customer data. So it's nothing but it's a level, right? The customer shipped to. So that becomes our level profile, and then in the data profile, typically like forecast. So that's our data profile. So in this, so it has already one data profile which is a local forecast. So let's see that. I'm selecting, and now it has opened that data profile. Okay, so the name of the profile is forecast, and then some user-friendly descriptions. Now, how you want to now there is a presentation type, so it's a description and code. So like how you want to present this data profile. You want to present with this profile name or by description. So this is a code and this is a description. So anywhere in the workflow or wherever you want to use it, so you want to use the description, you want to identify this profile by description or by code. So it's code. The integration type, you want to export, import and both. So it means that the same profile can be used for exporting as well as importing, or you can use only import or export. So now this profile is used for exporting the data. Now, so how you want to export? You want to export the full or incremental? Incremental, whichever the data you have exported earlier. So from that point, you want to export or you want to export the full data. So usually full data. Then create a worksheet. So when you select this, so it will create a worksheet with this name, local forecast. and all the filters and aggregations and level condition, whatever you mention in this profile, it will be used and it will be built accordingly. So we don't want to create any worksheet. Then import from the file. If I select the import, then it will select, disable that option for importing. Let's talk about first export, then we'll touch base on import, and then we'll talk about the level profile. So now it will create as a workflow. So now once you create an integration profile, you cannot run it. You will not able to run it. So for that you have to build one workflow, and through workflow you have to call this integration profile. So there is a provision that Demantra can create automatically a standalone workflow with this name. So we don't want to have a standalone workflow. So we want to use somewhere in the existing workflow. So if that is the case, then we'll not select this. And if you select the create workflow, then you have to select workflow group. We'll see what is this workflow group in our workflow discussion. So in short, what we are at the header level, we are mentioning like whether the export, import, how you want to export, you want to create a worksheet, you want to create a workflow, yes, no. Then now what are the series that you want to export? So these are the series. Okay, so now there are total 466 series, and I have selected only 6. So that 5. So that selected 5 series, you will see there is a one checkbox against that. Yeah. So here it has selected a demand priority. If you want to select one more, then you will just select that particular series. So I don't want. So these are the seeded. This is the seeded integration profile. So let's go ahead with that. So it is having the 5 different series. So typically forecast and the forecast error, and then final forecast, item key, what is item, errors. So all these are some series that it has selected. Now we are mentioning what is your time horizon. Like you want to export the whole data for 52 weeks of forecast, or you want to export only specific time range forecast. So our time scale is a week, and right. So now here is the option relative or the fixed. So when you say relative, so that means relative to the today's run date or the sys date. So what we are mentioning is, so from 0, so that means from today to next 104 weeks, forecast will be exported. If you select the fix, then you have to mention what is the time between which you want to export the forecast. So it's a relative. Okay. Now we have to select what are the levels that you want to export. Like I want to know what is the organization, what is the item for this forecast. So item and organization, these are 2 levels. So if you want to consider the customer, you can select the customer site as well. So depending on your need, you can export the forecast, but this is for the local forecast, we can go ahead with these 2. And then what is the unit? You want to export as per your primary unit, or so these are the unit of measure what you can define, and accordingly you want to export. Then scaling factor, all these settings that you can select. Now filter, like you are exporting 5 series of data for next 104 week for with respect to item and organization location level. Now you want to put any specific filter condition like wherever the organization is equal to M1, then that particular forecast has to be exported, or item type is equal to MTO. So that kind of condition you can mention, like where the item type is equal to ATO. So only ATO item forecast which is having that particular time frame, and it exports this 6 series data. Or if you select the organization, you can select like organization, like only E8. So for E8 item, which is having item type ZTO, that much forecast will be exported. Okay, now let's stop here. So if you see what is this integration interface, it is nothing but it's a select star from that particular script. So in the select, we select the columns. So columns are nothing but these are the series, right? And then the table is our sales data table. And then in the where we can mention the condition like C state, the sales state between the C state plus 104 week, and organization equal to item type equal to. So these are the filter conditions. So in short, this integration profile is nothing but it's actually a select statement. So we are just selecting a specific data and then we are dumping to the one of the table. So this is actually now, so these are the conditions till now what we have seen. And let's talk about exceptions. So here you can add another exceptions like where the show me the forecast where it is greater than 0. So these kind of only that kind of records will be exported. So again, this is a where condition. And now here you will mention where you want to export. You want to export to a file. Then if it is a file, then it will be a file from the server. You have to give the path and there it will export the file. What is the fixed width? You want to go with the fixed width or you want to select the delimiter, comma delimiter file. Now the next thing is it will ask you where you want to export the data. So the one option is the file, another one option is the view. So if you select the view, then you have to give the view name. So again, this is a standard nomenclature for view. So BIEO. So that I stands for, E stands for export, the third E. And if it is import, then it will be BIIO, local forecast. So in the exam it will ask, okay, what will be the export integration profile name look like? So BIIO or BIEO. So you can easily say, okay, E stands for export. So it is so for export, this is the nomenclature. And then at the end, this is the overall preview, like what you're doing and where it is exporting. So that's pretty much what the integration profile does. Now, if it is an import, okay, let's take an example of let's take example of the import. So again, go to tool, integration interface, and then import is a price list. So this price list data will be imported. So this is a data profile. So it is with respect to, okay, so now here it is importing. So if you see the import, that option is enabled. So now we are not importing from the file. So that's why the checkbox is not exist. The same you will select the series, like here it is importing the data into 31 series. So these are the price list columns in the sales data where we are importing. Okay, for import, this is the additional screen. We'll come to this screen. Otherwise, the same, the date range, you have to give the date range and then labels, filters, exceptions, and this is the import. This is the metric proportion. Yes, here there is another one difference. I think that's a review. Okay. So let's talk about the previous screen. Okay, so we have seen this import integration profile. export integration profile. These are the options which you can select, and it's the same description. Now this is the one. So the additional load and purge setting is for import. Okay, so this is the screen. So I have created one table where based on this setting, it does the various operations. Okay, so here it shows all the series on your left hand side. On the right hand side, there are some options. So the first option is a load. Another one option is for purge. So in the load option, how you want to load the data? You want to do no load. You want to accumulate. So that means it get accumulated to the existing data. Okay, and override. Override means it will override to the existing data. So in case of accumulate, if the series is having the value of 10, and when you import the data of 5, then it will be 10 plus 5, 15. So the new value will be 15 in case of accumulate. And over, like append, yep. And then override, it's wiping out the data, or not wiping out, it's just replacing the value for that particular thing, that particular record. Now in case of purge, so again there are three options. So don't do purge, so that means don't make that clean slate. Another one is to make a clean slate without new data, and then okay, so new data, so make a clean slate for all the date range, for all the dates, and make a clean slate for only that specific date range which is provided to that integration interface. So the date range is provided here. Yeah, so this is the date range. So if you select this one, all the data within the profile time range, so that means, so if the profile time range is only 1 week, so only 1 week data will be wiped out. And whereas if you select the second option, then everything will be wiped out. The series will be wiped out, and then it will be reloaded. So in some cases it will not be exist. Like if you wipe out the whole data and you just load only the 10 records, so the rest of all of the records will not have any value, only the 10 record will have value. Okay, so with these three comments, so for each series, okay, so this is the series 0, number 1, 0, then this is the forecast price is 100. So for each series, we have to define these configurations. So it's not like this whole configuration is applicable for all these series. No, it's a series wise the configuration that you have to select. And what it does that, so this is the matrix. So with this combination, ideally what you do, like first you will say, if you are importing the data, okay, now this is the price list. So whenever you use this integration profile, you have to make changes here because it will not have the correct setting. So whenever you load the price list data, then what you have to do, you have to first parse the data within that time range and then override. Okay, so that kind of configuration you have to use it. So, but now this is seeded, but somehow when we install the Demontra, it will have this kind of configuration. So we need to modify it if you want to use this integration profile. Okay, and then the last one is yes. So now we are importing the data. So can we create a new combination in MDP matrix? So that is a question. Like if it is something, the new customer data is coming. Okay, new sales data record is coming, for which there is only customer, or there is no that item customer combination is not exist in MDP matrix. So can we create that new combination? So that is the instruction. And then if it is a split, like if we are importing the data at aggregate level, Like if you go back here, so here you are importing data for 4 weeks. So that means your 4 weeks of data you are aggregating, and that data will be imported. But as you know that dMantra stores the value at the lowest possible level. So it has to do proportionate, right? So at what proportionate it has to do? So the matrix proportion or the actual proportion. So when you say the matrix proportion, so in the MDP matrix it is having numbers. So as per the numbers it determines the proportion and it splits the value. If it is actual proportion, so that means that if we are importing the data for the price list, okay, so if the price list is already having some data, right? So like whole data is 100, then as per that data, it proportionate the value. If we are getting a 300 value, new value is a 300 and old value is 100, so it's a 50-50 proportionate. Then in that case, it will divide into 150 and 150. So that is actual proportion. And this is a table where you will load this data. So you load this data in MDP DM price list, and in that table, once you load the data, then you will run this integration interface by using workflow. Then it will be moved to that particular series. So you can see there are other integration interface profiles. So now we have seen the local forecast. Okay. So there is a global forecast as well. Global forecast at a demand class or local forecast with a demand class. So now in the demand class, the only difference will be it will be have that demand class level. So this is the demand class. Rest of the things is the same. And if you go to the global forecast, global zone forecast, so in this you will not see any organization. So without any organization, we are aggregating and we are exporting the forecast at the zone level. So that's the only change. So these are the few commonly used integration profile. Yeah. So you can create your own and then load the data, play around that. Typically, when you want to export the data, then you will use this integration interface. Or you want to load, typically in case of price list as well. Yeah. So now, so what we do that we will connect that integration interface profile to workflow. This workflow will call that integration profile. So usually you can run the integration profile by using one batch file, but usually it will be called in that particular workflow, and from the workflow you can import the data and then you can do further massaging, or you can call any other custom API, etc. Okay, so let's talk about workflow. So as per the name, workflow is nothing but it's a routine activity or the routine steps which it follows. Okay, and then so that is a workflow, and the workflow manager is an application from where you will run this workflow. And the workflow step is one of the step in within that workflow. So it will be a multiple steps, right? So that step becomes the workflow. You will run this workflow by using a workflow manager. So the collection of all this workflow called a schema group. Okay, so let's see what is a workflow. So for workflow, we have to go to workflow manager. Now all these are the workflows. Okay. Now there is one called schema group. So the schema group is nothing but it's a set of the workflow. Group of the workflow. When you select EBS workflows, so all these workflow comes for EBS integrations. If you select E1 workflows, so these are for JD integrations. Then for Hyperion, these are the workflows. For Hyperion, if you see, so these I cannot edit this workflow. The reason is I am not owner. Owner is sales and operation planning. If the you got it. So now these are the, if you see, so these are the workflow which I can edit, which I can run, all these DM workflows. So owner can edit this workflow, but rest of user can start, schedule, or they can play around them. So they can actually just run. They cannot edit it. Okay. So now, how to create a schema? How to create a new workflow group? So at the bottom there is one option called new schema. Oh, sorry. At the top here is the options new. So here you can say, okay, I want to have a new schema group, for example XX, and here I want to select EBS full download. I want to select only this workflow. So that means that for XX group, XX that schema group, so in short you can have your, instead of going through this whole page, you can create a small group, and in that group you can list down all your required workflows and you can run that, you can play around that. So that's the idea behind this schema. Okay, now in this workflow you will see that one instance, so that means there is one request which is already running. So when you click on that, then it will show that what is the status or what is the workflow step. So the workflow step name is message download OK. So this is the last workflow step for this workflow. So how I know that? So if we click on the schema name, then it will allow you to edit that workflow. And if you see that workflow last step name is message download OK. So that means that this workflow has reached to the last step. Okay, now here from you can edit, you can start, you can schedule, or you can delete this workflow. Okay, so now I will terminate this action. So if it is error out, or if you want to cancel that particular request, you can say terminate. It will terminate that workflow, that action, and it will go back to the original state. Now whenever it is running, it will be a green. If it is error out, then it will be a red, yellow. So it's like in Oracle, it shows the color, right? The color indicates the status of that concurrent program. The same way this green ball represents it's running. If it is a red, then it means error out. Okay, so now next thing is let's go through what are the steps. Let's create one new workflow. Okay, so this is a new. If you select this top new, it creates the schema group. At the bottom there is a new schema. So that schema is nothing but its workflow. So when you click, then this workflow editor screen will come. Okay, so you can give name like this. I'm giving some name. So propose. I want to create a workflow with the proper checkbox represent this workflow is in draft stage or it is a live. So I will make this as it's not a live. So these are the available steps which you can use it. So this BLE, I will explain you later what is this BLE. Then conditions, so you can mention the condition. If this happen, then go this direction. If this happen, then go that direction. Okay. So let's create first a simple workflow. Then we'll see all these actions. So this is my requirement. Okay, I want to run one particular procedure. Okay, by using this workflow. How that can be done? So for that you have to use stored procedure step. So this is my step 1. Okay, and now here it will ask what is the procedure name. So I have to give the procedure name. So let me first compile the procedure. So I am having one small procedure ready. So this is my procedure. It's a small 3-4 line procedure. So what it does that it is resetting some flags. It is updating some flags and then running some another one procedure. So you can define any procedure. It's a typical standard procedure. So we'll not see how to define a procedure. But whatever procedure if you define, compile it. So this procedure is compiled. The procedure name is demantra run proport. So I will mention the procedure name. So if that procedure is having some parameters, so you can add this parameter here and say, okay, so this is my one of the parameter, like typically P or ID or something like that. So you can add these parameters as per your need. So it's you can take an input and you can run the procedure. So for my procedure, I don't have any input. Okay, now, so this typical procedure. So this particular dialog box comes with this stored procedure step. So this pause and this recovery, these are the typical standard information which will be asked mostly for all your steps. So like if you want to pause it, like it should be paused after so many hours, so many minutes, so many seconds, you can mention that. So recovery option, so if it is something failed, then what should we do? The option is ask to user. So it will ask user, okay, I am failed, what should I do? Or directly by default go abort and go back to the original state. Retry, so repeat that the failed state, or continue, skip that stage and go ahead to the next action state. So I will say abort. So these are the standard these top pause box and this recovery box, these are the pretty standard. Then add. So now what I did that, so if you see there is one star here. So whenever you define any procedure, so there should be one star. So the star represents the starting point of your workflow. So if you now let me add another one procedure. So I will create one transfer. Okay. So now this is the step. This transfer step is related to the integration interface. So now in the previous discussion we have seen that how to create an integration interface. Now we are going to call that integration interface in this workflow. So this is my step. So what type of activity you want to do? Export or import? I said I want to export. What is the integration interface name? So it's a local forecast something. Yeah, local forecast. So now, so if you recollect our discussion, so each and every integration interface, there will be a two profile, a data profile and the level profile. So for this integration interface, it is having a data profile. So it means that it is exporting some series of data with respect to time. Okay, so it does not have any level profile. If it is have both the profiles, then you have to select which profile you want to select, export or import. Which data profile you want to select. You want to select a data profile or level profile. So I will say select. I want to select a data profile, and the value is only one. I am exporting it. So now this workflow is used only for export. Okay, so if you select import, then there is a EBS price list. Okay, so that if you recollect the EBS price list, let's go to so here it is for import, right? So if I select import and export, then the way we call, accordingly the action will happen. So if I select here action like import, then that profile will be used for importing. If it is export, then the same profile will be used for exporting. So that's why, so it does not mean that it is doing both the activity at a time. No, it is doing only one activity as per the activity you will mention in this at this step. Okay, so let's go back to the export and local forecast. Okay, so yeah, so in this integration interface, either you select all or data, that action will be the same. So I will select all and then export, and then these are the remaining fields. Okay, so now these are the two steps which I have created. When you want to add a new step, you need to double click on that particular step, and you need to mention that prompt parameters. Okay, now I will delete this. Simply select that step and press the delete button. Now I have created these two. Now I have to draw a line. So now, so you need to draw a line like this. So it explains that first it will do this step because it is having that star mark, and then it goes to the second. If you do right click here, and here is the one, there is option set up as a start. So if you select that, then the star comes here. So first this step 2 will be executed, then it goes to the step 1. Now, depending on the how you set up your arrow. Now the arrow is not indicating that it has to go to the step 1, so it will just execute the step 2 and it will be marked as done. So this is the way you can build a linkage between these workflows, and then for this my workflow I don't need this step as well. So I simply delete that. So I am having only one step which run the procedure. Now this my workflow is alive, so that means now designing is done. User can see this workflow in the list to run to schedule it. Save it. So at the bottom you will see the message schema has been saved. Validate if everything is okay, the schema is valid, and then go back, then press back. Now this XX purport is available to use it, and then you can press this start button. Now it is having only one step, so even that step is done. So I have executed that action. So it was pretty fast because it was having simple update script. Okay, so this is the way you will define a workflow. The next thing is, let's go a little bit in detail and see what are these are the steps. So as I mentioned the conditions, you can mention the condition, like you can mention the SQL condition, then this is a Java class, you can mention the condition based on the Java, or you can mention the condition in the worksheet itself. If the worksheet gets some record, then it will move to the some other, it will move accordingly. So in the worksheet, if you mention the if in the worksheet you will mention the exception is greater than 80%. Forecast error is greater than 80%. If you mention that kind of exceptions in the worksheet, and if you select that worksheet, then what will happen if the worksheet get that data? So it will execute that worksheet, and if it will get the data, then it will perform the action accordingly, the future next actions. So if it is get the data, then true and false, you can mention the condition. Okay. Then the container step. So this is the step, actually what it does that. So this is it's like a group of the steps. Like you will do some activity in parallel. So in that one container box. So like you will load the item data, you will load the location data. Once these two activities will be run in parallel, then you will run then you can start loading the history data. So you can once both the two activities are completed, then it moves to the next step. So you can build that kind of conditions here. So in the exam, they will ask the purpose of container step is to run the two steps in parallel, two step in conditional way, consecutive way, some with that condition. This is one of the exam question. Runs in parallel. Once both the activities are completed, then move to the next step. So in the custom step, again you can mention your Java class code, and it will execute, and then as per what you mentioned the Java, it performs the actions. So it's like a custom restore procedure code. Then email steps, it sends the email. So that's it. Like for example, if this procedure is done, if the procedure is completed, then I can mention send an email. So you can mention what is the subject and what is the message and who is the user. So this particular email goes into that user's task. So if you go to the collaborator workbench, you will see the task, right? So in the task section, in the task pane, you will see that notification or email. Then exception. So it sends the exceptions if it sees some kind of data. So now if you define one worksheet which captures the forecast error greater than 60%, 80%. So it collects that so it runs that worksheet, and once it got that worksheet, it will send that worksheet output to that particular user. So you can select a user or user group, you can mention where you want to export that data, what is the message body, what is the name, so you want to send the URL or directly you want to send the worksheet link. So this is again it goes to the task pane. Then execution, so you will run some exe file or exe command. So it can be anything. Like once you load the history data, and if you want to run an engine, then you can use this command line, and you can call this engine by using command prompt. So that can be done. Group steps. So in the group step, it sends the kind of message to that particular group. So you can mention the message and URL, and you can mention any worksheet. So it's like sending the like once you load your forecast, or once you generate your Demantra engine for forecast generated by Demantra engine, then you want to send a communication to whole user group. Then you can use this kind of step. Then simulation. Yes, so you can run this worksheet in the simulation. Usually these kind of steps are not used. You can run the simulation from worksheet itself because you will update the data in the worksheet and then you will run the simulation from there itself. So transfer step we have seen, stop procedure we have seen, user step again this will send a message to one particular user. Wait until, this is a step where you can mention like wait until that file is loaded or that file is created, file is exist or file size is greater than this much. You can mention some archive strategy or you can mention another condition like some SQL script like if the data is exist, so it will wait for specific time, and you can mention the condition either in the form of file or in the form of SQL script. Now this is a worksheet cache. If you recollect our discussion, worksheet discussion, in the worksheet discussion we can create some caching. So there are two ways to create a cache. When user opens the worksheet, then the cache will be created. So that kind of the manual step. Another way is you will run this workflow, and then workflow will select that worksheet and it will build the cache over the night or over the weekend or whenever the data is loaded to the engine, to the Demantra. So we will add the worksheet name. Now the user, this is another one exam question. So the cache can be created at the worksheet level, at the user level, and then these are the two things, user and user group level. Okay. Now this create member step, edit member step, paste member step. So these four, these are nothing but these are the method. So when we talk about method, then we'll come here. A refresh population, this is for promotions. The launch workflow step. So in this, you will launch another one workflow. So you are calling one workflow from another workflow. So these are the few activities, few steps that you can use, and based on that, you can build your. Let me delete all this. So with this activity, you can build your own workflow. So let's take an example of. Let's see some example of workflows. So let's go to e-business. Let's see ABS full download. So these are the things which are happening. So it is having one transfer step. So what is the transfer step? So this is calling one integration interface. So what is integration interface? So this is the integration interface name, and it is having only one data profile, purge history. So what it does, what is meant by purge history? So go to tool, integration interface. So here we have selected the purge history data. So basically this workflow, this integration interface just wipe out the data. So it is having a two data profile. So it will execute both the two data profile. So what it does that, so it is purging the history. So it has selected the 9 series, and for this 9 series it is just okay. Now again we need to modify this configuration, but here we should have selected the purge the data for all the date range or within the date range depending on your need. So all these for all these series. So if you see, so here we are loading our history data. So booking history, shipping history, and request date history. That is what we are loading. So it is just wiping out the data. So it's nothing but it's a cleanup. What it does, what it is doing. Then next one is prepare data. So this is the one procedure which will be executed. And by the way, this procedure is nothing but it's a collection hook. So if you want to do some cleanup activity, you can define in this procedure. So it is an empty procedure. So it's a preparation data. Then another step is the stored procedure step, and here the step name is load item. So here it is running this procedure EP load item. So this is a standard procedure. If you can open this procedure and you can see the package and everything. But yeah, what it does that it is loading the data from TEP item TMPL to item TEP items, item table. So it is loading the data to the item level table. The same for the location. So it is loading the location data. Procedure name is EP load location. Then third step is loading the history. And once all these three things are completed, and if it is a success, so it is running one script. So this is a condition step. So it is checking that all load is complete. And then if it is a true, then it goes and it will run another one procedure EP log EP load success. So it runs some procedures, then it will go to the load to the CTO data, and then this is a new product introduction NPI data, and then at the end it goes at the end and it will send. So this is a group step. In the group step, it is sending this message. Message is EBS full download is complete to all these user groups. So these are the user groups. And if it is error out, then again it sends the message to the user group saying that it is completed with error. So this is how EBS full download. So you can go through, these are the few stated workflows. You can see the local forecast and how it is playing around the local forecast. Let's take the example of local forecast. Where is that? Well, let's say, let's go at any one of the forecasts. So here it is having one transfer step. So this is the starting point, and in the transfer step it is calling that integration enterprise, and it is doing export part, and then now so it is exporting to our this BIEO table, right? And now from the BIEO, then it is calling this VCP procedure, or this is a demonster procedure which moves the data to denom table of VCP. So this is a procedure which is called. And then once that activity is done, then it sends the message, okay, forecast upload is completed. So this is the way we have to define the workflow. We have to run the workflow, and you can custom your own workflow. So you can send a task, you can send a message, you can run some activities. You can call even concurrent program by using the workflow, even the collection if you want. So that's the workflow. So we have seen workflow. Then we have touched base on the EBS full download. We have seen how to create a schema. Now we have to talk on the method. Okay, so integration interface, so it's a standalone kind of setup, and you cannot run the integration interface without using a workflow. Okay, so the workflow can be used for running the integration interface as well as doing lots of other activities like sending a task, sending the email, running the worksheet, building a cache and all. Okay, so that is the workflow. Now the method is nothing but it calls that workflow. We'll see how what has been my method. So to summarize or just to explain in the layman language, so the workflow, the method is nothing but it's a right-click menu options what you see in the member browser. Okay, so now there are some default methods which are available whenever you do the right-click, like view item, delete item, edit item, or view organization, delete organization, create organization. So these are the standard methods. So of course you can hide that. This is what we have seen in the collaborator workbench admin. So in admin you can hide these methods because you should not create any organization or item directly in Demontra. So you can put some restrictions around that. Okay, so now, so these are the activity you can do. So these are the method type. So the constructor is a method type where you can construct something, you can build something, you can create a new record. So destroy, the destructor means it is going to delete that record. Edit means it is going to edit the existing records. So the custom means anything whatever you want. You can run the Java, you can run one your Java class or bat file. So anything you want. And then view, or you can just see the data. You cannot edit, you cannot delete, you cannot create a new one. And here is the example. If you go to the member browser and if you do the right click, so these are the methods for product category label. So the label, these methods are always connected to the label. You cannot run the method without using any label. Okay. So let's see how to create a method. So if you go to the configure, and there is options called configure method. So let's see first seeded method. So you can select your label. So I will select, okay, I want to select the item level. So for item you can do these many things, but not all these things are available in this demand for your DM user. Okay, so these are the new method. So if you want to create something new method, you can select these options. Or you are having, these are the methods which are already defined. So let's see what is the view item method. So in the view item method, so what is the name of that method? So when you do the right click, there will be one name will be shown. So what name you want to show? So it's a view item. So what is the level? At what level it has created? This is enabled at, so this is enabled for all the worksheet or to the specific worksheet. If you select the specific worksheet, then you have to select the worksheet name. If you select the all, then it means that it is enabled for all. Okay, so if you want to associate any workflow with this method, you can select that. Typically, if you use a custom, then you will attach one of your workflow. So that workflow might run your store procedure, or it might be doing XYZ activity. So depending on that activity, so you can execute that workflow by using just method. So which I don't want, and then display in menu. So you want to show in that right click menu, yes or no. The toolbar display, you want to select So in the toolbar as well, so the right click menu, at the same way you can see in the toolbar whether that method is available or not. So that is yes, no. Now then what is the method, what is the icon for custom method? Then a synchronization workflow. So in Oracle there are transaction processing mode. So one is the online, batch, and background. So these are the transaction processing mode for inventory. The same way, how you want to execute. So how you want to execute these actions. You want to execute these actions whenever user select that particular method, then that action will be initiated. So you want to wait till that action get initiated, or you want to continue instead of waiting. So when you say synchronize workflow, so that means that until that workflow get completed, you will not allow to do anything. So that is the one. Then the refresh cache, at that time we want to refresh the cache for that particular level, yes, no. Now these are so this second this dialog invoke button. Okay, so this is kind of cosmetic personalization what you can do. So whenever that workflow get completed, it says okay, or you can mention done or complete. So it's just how you want to show that particular button. And then when the workflow is completed, then what you want to do nothing, or you automatically want to save a data, or you want user to save a data. So it will prompt for message to save a data if you select ask to save. If you say do nothing, then it will not ask anything. So what should we do once the action get completed? So you want to reload the worksheet and then give a message and ask user to reload the worksheet or none. So these are the post activity once you execute that workflow. Now what is a method type? If you see, so I have mentioned that there are some method types. So constructor, destructor, edit, view. So this is a view kind of method. So where you are allowed to just see the data. When you select edit, then you are allowed to edit the values of that member. I will keep as it is, and then security method, and if okay, I think this is will be enabled for another method. Then destructor type, if you are selecting, let me select one of the destructor method and then we'll see. And then at the bottom here is execute the client class. So what is your Java class that you want to execute? So these are the serial workflows. So it execute this Java class, and then it does that showing it will open that dialog box where you will see the values. And then the next one is, so what are the input parameter for view? Let me open that work method so that it will be easy to correlate. So this is the advantage of having this Tomcat web service as a Windows service. Otherwise, you have to go to that black box and write some script. So I'm going to collaborator workbench. So this is the item. If you do the right click, and so this is a view item. So that's a view item is coming because we have selected this view item. So here it is a view item name. If you change something, then this view item will be replaced with that new name. Okay, so now I will say view item. When you select a view item, then this member code, member description is populated, and the rest of other things are also populated. So these are nothing but these are the level attributes. So additional information of level, weight, height, length, width, material, density. So all these information you can capture here. So this is additional information about that item. So it's not, these are nothing but these are the properties of that item. Okay, so now when you click on the next, so these are the property which are available to you. So these are the mandatory properties. Now we are talking about view. So our method type is view. This does not make any sense of whether it's editable or not editable. But if it is an edit property, so if it is an edit item method, then you can mark, okay, these are the level attributes are editable, these are not, and these are the mandatory and these are not. So you can mention that you can move the sequence up and down. And we don't have anything output parameter, so if you have something to show as the output, then you can select that attribute as the output, and then further you can mention, you can decide the preceding sequence. So we have seen this method. First we started our discussion. So whenever we create a new work or a new method, then we have to attach that workflow. Automatically attachment will not happen. And that is the reason we started from integration interface, where that integration interface will be called in workflow, and the workflow can be called in that method. So this should be your sequence of action. Okay, so that's it for today.